Ready?
Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. Bim, bam, bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. Shabbat Shalom and welcome to Temple Beth Or. I'm Rabbi Lucy Dinner, along with Rabbi Leah Citron and Zemer Lexi Newell. We are celebrating this Shabbat day and celebrating the bat mitzvah of Tilly Noyes, along with her parents and her siblings, her grandparents, the generations of our family who have been active in our congregation. Before we get started with our service, I want to invite you to sit back and find that comfortable space for yourself. A little bit of Zoom etiquette we share at Temple Beth Or. First of all, your microphone is now muted, and we ask that you keep it muted throughout the service, except for if we ask you at the end, especially our Jewish jelly donuts, to unmute yourselves. Set your camera so that we can see your head and your shoulders and we feel that presence of our community together. If you are away from your camera, feel free to turn your video off. And if you need to attend to some personal needs in front of the camera, definitely turn the video off then as well. Our prayer book, Mishkan Tefillah, will be available to you through a link in the chat. You can put it side by side with your Zoom screen. If you have any questions, you can ask TBO host Mark in the chat and he will be glad to help you. And now take a breath in to welcome Shabbat, to welcome this beautiful Sabbath day as we turn to the Sabbath, to the reading of Torah, to the blessing that we share as a community together. We turn now in our prayer books to page 172, our opening song, HaTovu.
Oh,
now we turn to page 171 for the blessing for wearing of talit. And I invite forward Craig and Lauren Noyes to present the talis to their daughter.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahimtateh b'tzitzit.
We call now upon Tilly's grandparents, Betty Noyes and Betty Tressman, to offer opening readings. Our first reading is on page 66 in our prayer book, as is our second reading.
Each of us enters the sanctuary with a different need. Some hearts are full of peace and gratitude, overflowing with love and joy. They are eager to confront the day, to make the world a better place. They are recovering from illness or have escaped misfortune. We rejoice with them. Some hearts ache with sorrow. Disappointments weigh heavily on them. Families have been broken. Loved ones lie on a bed of pain. Death has taken a cherished loved one. May our presence and caring bring them comfort. Some hearts are embittered. Ideals are betrayed and mocked. Answers sought in vain. Life has lost its meaning and value. May the knowledge that we too are searching restore our hope and renew our faith.
Who does not hunger for friendship, understanding, warmth, and love? Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. Let us lend strength to one another and pray for the welfare of this community.
Now I invite forward June and Will Noyes as they offer an opening blessing for their sister.
We choose our own way. Do not imagine that character is determined at birth. We have been given free will. Any person can become as righteous as Moses or as wicked as Jeroboam. We ourselves, learned or ignorant, compassionate or cruel, generous or miserly. No one forces us, no one decides for us, no one drags us along one path or another. We ourselves, by our own volition, choose our own way. Moses Maimonides. Listen to the mustn'ts. Listen to the mustn'ts, child. Listen to the don'ts. Listen to the shouldn'ts, the impossibles, the won'ts. Listen to the never haves, then listen close to me. Anything can happen, child. Anything can be. Shel Silverstein.
Now we turn in our prayer books to page 175 as our bat mitzvah leads us in our service and in reading of Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'sech bina l'chavhin ben yom u'ben layla. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kifufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanotem li'av koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir sheina me'enai u'tnuma me'apapai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani b'tzelem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani bat chorim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara.
Our service continues with the call to worship, the Baruch Hu, on page 195. You are welcome throughout the service to rise as you are able and is appropriate before your specific destination where you are at the places in the service where you are accustomed to doing so. We continue with the Baruch Hu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvarei choshech osei shalom uvarei et hakol hameir la'aretz v'ladarim alecha barachamim uv tuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishit ma rabu ma'asacha Adonai kulam b'chokma asita malach ha'aretz kinyanecha tit barach Adonai Eloheinu al shavach ma'aseh yadecha, va'al me'arei or she'asita yifa'arucha sela. Or chadash al tzion ta'ir, v'nitzkeh kulanu mehera l'ora. Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer ha'me'orot. We continue on page 199. O God, inspiration and guide for all, you've spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear. In every land and every age, your children have heard you and imagined you in separate ways. And yet, O God, you are one, unifier of humanity. We give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us understanding of your will. Gratefully, we recall the lawgivers and prophets, the psalmists and sages of Israel. And joyfully, we remember that from the dawn of Israel's life, we would turn to you and find purpose. May the teachings of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passion for righteousness stir our hearts. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael, ba'ahava.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, והושיבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוקתך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים אליכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני Adonai Elohim. Love Adonai your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children, talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai your God. We continue on page 203. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished. A gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content. For soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed. The song of peace.
Page 204.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש. נורות כאילו עושה פלא, נורות כאילו עושה פלא, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. שיר החדשות שבחו גאולים, לשמחו שפת היום, יחד כולם הודו, וכמליכו ויאמרו אדוני, ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש. נורות כאילו עושה פלא, נורות כאילו עושה פלא, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
We continue chanting the tefillah in Hebrew from pages 205 to 207. Adonai, sefotai tiftach, ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, sefotai tiftach, ufi agi tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei Bnehem, Leman Shemel B'Ahava, Melech Hazer Mashiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah V'Hoshia, Mori Atah, Mechakel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechaye HaKol B'Rachamim Ramim, Tzahomach Noflim B'Rafeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishanei Alfahar, Milchamucha Bagivurot, Umidom Melach, Melach Memi, Umechaye, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atel Chayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol. We continue singing the Kiddushah from pages 208 to 210.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשפי מרום, ככתוב על נביאך, וקרא זה על זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון לדור ודור. הללויה, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ונצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך לא ינומי פינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
On this Shabbat day, as you graciously receive our prayers, help us to hear your call. Grant us enough health to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to others. Teach us humility that we may perceive our own faults, and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves, and the charity to see the best in those around us. Give us patience enough not to become discouraged, hope enough to overcome all fears for the future, and faith enough to know your presence. O source of blessing, look with favor upon us. May our offerings be acceptable to you. We praise you, Adonai, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. O God, there are so many things for which we give thanks. For the expanding grandeur of creation, this fragile planet Earth, the joy of human life, human community, high hopes and noble causes, for all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, for human liberties and sacred rights. We pray that we may live, not by our fears but by our hopes, not by our words but by our deeds. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulechana el lehodot. Praised are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Theme Shalom, our prayer for peace, page 216.
Sing, sing, sing shalom, sing, sing, sing shalom, sing, sing, sing shalom, tova uveracha. Sing, sing, sing shalom, sing, sing, sing shalom, sing, sing, שים שלום טובה וברכה. יא לה 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 לי 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 לי, יא לה 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 לי 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 לי, יא לה 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 לי 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 לי. שים 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 שלום, שים 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 שלום, שים 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 שלום טובה וברכה.
Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivorechet amo Yisrael, bashalom. We turn inward now for Tfilat Halev, the silent prayers of our hearts.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי ויאמרו ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי ויאמרו ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, Adonai tzuri v'go'ali, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri v'go'ali.
Our service for reading Torah is a celebration of our heritage and what it passes to us, and a celebration for our bat mitzvah and her family as she receives the Torah, as she takes it forward from one generation to the next. And so I invite forward now Tilly's parents and siblings to open the ark and pass Torah to her. We turn in our prayer book to page 244.
אין כמוך באלוהים אדוני ואין כמעשיך, מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני עושה לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים. ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, ברוך שנתן תורה תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. אחד אלוהינו גדול אדוננו קדוש שמו. לך אדוני הגדולה והגיבורה והתפארת והנצח וההוד. כי כל בשמיים ובארץ, כי כל בשמיים ובארץ, לך אדוני הממלכה ואני נעשה לכל אירוע.
My Torah portion is Ki Tetzei, Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 5 through 22, and chapter 5, verses 1 through 3.
Ta'amod, Henya Rivka bat Shimon ve'Bedi. We call for the first Aliyah, Lauren Noyes.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'Torah.
Amen.
Amen. Ki kach ish isha chadasha lo yitzeh batzavah v'lo ya'avor alav l'chol davar naki yeh leveito shana achat v'shimach et ishto asher lakach lo yachavo rechaim barachev ki nefesh hu chovel ki matzei ish ganev nefesh mechav mibnei Yisrael v'hitamer bo umcharo umen haganav hahu uviarta hara mikirbecha hishamer b'nega hatzarat lishmor ma'od v'la'asot kechol asher yoru edcham hakohanim havim kasher tivitim tishmeru la'asot zachor et asher asah Adonai Elohecha l'Miriam b'derecha b'tzivchem miMitzrayim ki tasha v'reilcha mashat me'uma l'tavo el beitoho la'avot avoto b'chutz ta'amod v'hayish asher ata nozevo yotzi elecha et havo hachutza v'im ish ani hu lo tishkav ba'avoto hashev tashiv lo et avot k'vo hashemesh v'shachav v'salmato u'verachaka u'lecha tihet tzedaka lifnei Adonai Elohecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'hayei olam natan betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'Torah.
Ya'amod Shimon ben Tili ve'Shmuel. We call for the second Aliyah, Stan Trustman.
Don't hold your pages. What's that say? Okay, go ahead.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher borcha bornu mikol ha'amim v'notan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'Torah.
Amen. Lo ta'ashok sachir ani v'evyon me'achacha al nigercha asher b'tzecha b'sharecha b'yomo titein zichara v'tabo alav Hashem Ki ani hu ve'elav hu nosei enafsho v'yikra alecha Adonai v'haya v'chachet v'yimtu avot al-banim u'banim v'yimtu avot ish v'chetav yumatu v'hotatei mishpat geryatam v'hotachavu beged almanah v'zacharta ki eved hayita b'mitzrayim b'ivdecha Adonai Elohecha misham akein anochi mitzavecha v'asot et hadavar hazeh ki tiksor ketzircha v'sadecha v'chachta omer basadeh tashuv l'kachta lager layatam v'la'omena yihya Laman yivarechecha Adonai Elohecha v'chol ma'aseh yadecha.
העולם אשר נתנה בפניו אמת בחיי עולם נתן בתוכנו ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Ta'amod habat mitzvah, Safira bat Hanya Rivka v'Craig. We call for the third and final aliyah, the bat mitzvah, Tilly Noise.
Baruch hu Adonai humble ra.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natam hanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Ki tachvot zeitecha lo tifa'er acharacha lager layatom v'la'almanah yihya. Ki tivtzor karmacha lo te'olel acharacha lager layatom v'la'almanah yihya. V'zacharta ki eved hayita be'eretz Mitzrayim. Akein anochi mitzavecha v'asot et hadavar hazeh. Ki hiya rivein anashim v'nigshu el hamishpat u'shpatim v'hitzdiku et hatzadik v'hirshiu et harsha. V'haya imbin hakot harsha v'hikilah hashofet v'hikahil lefanav kudei rishataho b'mispar arba'im yakanu lo Yosef pen Yosef v'hakoto al ela makaraba v'nikla achicha le'einecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei haolam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Ki TTC contains almost 75 commandments, and they're very wide-ranging and seemingly random. Some important commandments include paying wages to needy workers before sundown the day they are due, and not being able to take a hand mill or upper millstone and pawn. Also included is the commandment that you should leave extra food from your harvest for the poor. Other commandments involve leprosy, number of lashes punishment, and exceptions for drafting men into the military.
And now I invite forward Lauren Noyes along with Will and June as our Hagba and Galila.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני ביד משה. יללי לי 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 ילי לי 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 עץ חיים כי למחזיקים בה ותומכך ואושר דרכיכם דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיך Shalom.
My Haftarah portion is Isaiah verses 54:1 through 54:5. Specifically, it contains a message for women going through hard times. On a larger scale, it reassures the Israelites that they will have better days in the future and that they should keep going. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nbiim tovim v'ratza b'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah uv'Moshe avdah Uv Yisrael Amar, Uvimiyeh Ha'emet B'tzedek. Rani Akara Lo Yada Pitzli Rina Pitzahali Lo Chala Ki Rabim B'nei Shalima Mibnei Be'ulaha Amar Adonai Harchivi Mekom ahalech b'riyot mishkanotayich yatu al tachsechi ha'arichi metarayich mitidotayich chazeki ki yaniv b'smol tifrati b'zarech goyim yirash ba'arim Nishamot Yoshivu Al Tiri Kilo Tevoshe V'Takami Kilo Tachbihiri Ki Boshe Alamayich Tishkachi V'Hirpat Alminutayich Lo Tiskari Od Ki Yivo Alayich Osayich Adonai Tziva'ot Shemaho V'Goalech Kadosh Yisrael Elohei Chol Ha'aretz Yikareh Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Tor kol halamim Tzadik b'chol hadorot Ha'el ha'ne'eman Ha'omer v'oseh, ha'medaber u'mekayem, shechol devarav emet v'tzedek. Al ha'torah, v'al ha'avodah, v'al ha'nvi'im, v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh. Shenatata Adonai Eloheinu, Likdusha v'linucha, lechabod otifaret. Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu, anachni modim lach, umbarchim otach, yitbarach shimcha b'fi kol chai, tamid le'olam ba'ed, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat.
Simen tabu, mazel tabu, mazel tabu, simen tabu, simen tabu, mazel tabu, mazel tabu, simen tabu, mazel tabu, mazel tabu, simen tabu, yelanu, 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 ulu Yisrael, yelanu, yelanu. Israel, Simen tabu, mazel tabu, mazel tabu, simen tabu, mazel tabu, mazel tabu, simen tabu, mazel tabu, simen tabu, yelanu.
Shabbat Shalom. My Torah portion, Ki Tetzeh, is a collection of almost 75 commandments, the most in a single Torah portion. The laws in the section I chose are wide-ranging, from loan collection to kidnapping. I chose this section because of its common theme of helping others, which I think is very important. Also, every other section was gross, like causing awkward conversations with your parents gross. Nevertheless, my portion shows that anyone can make a difference in this world, not just the wealthy. Small acts of kindness are important and can make someone's day much better. This is shown by many of the commandments in my portion. These include paying wages to needy workers on time, as that money can keep them fed that night, and not taking millstones in pawn, because it takes away the ability to make bread. Both laws show decency and kindness. My portion also contains the famous commandment that when you harvest your crops, you should leave your excess food for the poor and needy. Donating what you have extra of, whether it is time, money, food, or kindness, is the key to helping others. And I have learned from my Torah portion, and from experiences in my life, that it is not as hard as it seems. For the past 2 years, every Friday after school, I have volunteered for an organization at my school called Pride Pack with a few of my friends. During that time, I pack bags of food for food insecure children at my former elementary school, and have a great time doing it. All it takes is less than an hour a week of my time, and I can affect the lives of so many children. Volunteering doesn't have to be boring or hard, but can be easy and fun, like Pride Pack is for me. Just doing little things, like picking up the things of someone who has fallen, or lending someone something when they need it, is a start. This is why, for my Bat Mitzvah project, I volunteered with friends and family at an interfaith food shuttle farm. Together, we pulled up cucumber plants and harvested peas for more than 2 hours to donate to programs helping the food insecure. It was fun and tiring, but we left knowing that we had helped others. When I started planning for this day, I expected to be able to see the congregation and have a big fun party with all sorts of delicious food. I never expected to be having my service over a Zoom call and to be postponing my big party. And yet, this day still holds meaning and is still special. Today is the day that I become a Jewish adult. Becoming Bat Mitzvah isn't just words on a page. It is a representation of the hard work and practice that it took to get to this day. It is a reminder that I can reach my goals, and it is a reminder of my Jewish life. It is a coming of age, a growing up, to being a Jewish adult. But to be a Jewish adult, I wanted to keep practicing Judaism. In the future, I want to continue going to religious school with my classmates and to go on my birthright trip to Israel. Beyond that, I want to keep going to services and practicing Judaism as an adult. Becoming Bat Mitzvah is just the start. Now it is time to thank everyone that got me to today. First, I would like to thank my tutor, Nancy, for teaching me so much of what I have been today, and for supporting me through this process with fun stories and mustache stickers. You have kept me on track in my preparation, and you've helped me so much. Thank you, Zemmer Lexi, Rabbi Dinner, and Rabbi Citron, for being a part of my service and for helping me in so many ways on my journey here. You have supported me from getting my Torah portion to Beaver rehearsals. Next, I would like to thank all of my JCC, family, and TBO friends for supporting me year-round, whether we were at swim practice or dinner together. Thank you to the amazing Jewish Jelly Donuts for fun times, from skits to sleepovers at Temple, and for making waking up on weekends more enjoyable. Thank you to my school friends for laughs and birthday parties, jokes, and rants. Y'all really carry me through the long, boring school year. Next, thank you to all of my aunts and uncles for supporting me and for having so much fun with my family over the years, whether at the farm, in Baltimore, or in Orlando. Thank you to my cousins, because everything we do together is fun, and because we have so many amazing memories together. I'm so grateful to Nana for making every Christmas break amazing with gifts, beach days that always seem to be the worst days of our trip, and so much more. You're an amazing grandmother, and I missed you throughout the long times we spent apart. Thank you, Bubby and Shimon, for having me at the farm so often, for giving me great advice, and for taking care of us sometimes. Thank you for coming to my events and for always being there for me. Finally, thank you to June for your endless ideas and enthusiasm. And even though your one-track mind can be a bit annoying at sometimes, you're still a great sister. You've taught me so much through our bond, and for that, I'm grateful. Will, thank you for always being ready to play sport with me. Anything from your favorite soccer to my favorite volleyball. You're a great supportive brother, and you can be very funny too. Thank you, Dad, for helping me be realistic with my bat mitzvah planning and for giving me laughs and my love of FSU football, though not FSU football. You're an amazing dad, and you've supported me so much, even though you aren't Jewish and never had a bar mitzvah yourself. Thank you, Mom, for driving me everywhere, teaching me Hebrew, and for cooking every meal. You've taught me so much about Hebrew and baking, and you've pushed me through my bat mitzvah process. Lastly, thank you to all of my family and friends for supporting me throughout my life. I would not be here without you all. Shabbat Shalom.
Tilly, you did it. I am so proud and excited for you. This has been a very strange path for all of us, and yet you have rolled with all of the punches thrown your way over the last 7 months. I know that you've been thinking about this day for a long time. As your first Hebrew teacher in 3rd grade, I watched you take the study of Hebrew seriously from the very beginning. You practiced, you did your homework every week, and you expected excellence from yourself at every stage in your Hebrew and bat mitzvah study. You were thrilled to learn trope with the Hirsches and Rabbi Citrin, and then rededicated yourself when you learned that Nancy would be your amazing tutor. After starting with Nancy, I was surprised to discover that you were practicing your Hebrew every day. I sometimes forget how hard you work because you make it look so easy. This bat mitzvah process exemplifies you as a person. You throw yourself into something and we follow along. Sure, your dad and I encourage you along the way and sometimes have to work our way through some angst and tears. But the fact remains, when you decide on a path, we are more than thrilled to get out of your way and watch where you go. Tilly, you are tender-hearted, empathetic, loud, snarky, fun, sporty, competitive, loyal, encouraging, and smart. You are a thrill seeker who conquered her fear of heights because you really wanted to climb rocks, swing through trees, and go on every scary roller coaster you could find. You are an aggressive learner. Anyone who has taught you, from family members to coaches to teachers, knows what I'm talking about. If you want to learn about something, you will insist on more information, correct information, and lots of it. You push everyone who teaches you to do better. And once you learn about something, you are not scared to share your opinions. I'm not really sure where that comes from. For example, I remember when you were 3 years old in preschool at a nature preschool in Maryland. We were driving home and you were telling me all about what you learned that day. You kept talking about the oath and how we care for the oath and who lives on the oath. I didn't know what you were talking about. You finally said, Mom, you call it earth, I call it oath. You had an opinion and you were sticking to it. As we heard today, you have sincere empathy for other people, especially children. I have been hearing this from your teachers since preschool, who worried that you allowed other children's sorrows to become your own. And now even a sad commercial gets those tear ducts malfunctioning quickly. You see your siblings or other kids upset and can't help but comfort them. I see this as one of your greatest strengths. You are able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and feel their feelings. You enthusiastically volunteer for Pride Pack at Leesville Elementary, in part because of your great empathy for children who have less than you, but also because of your outrage at the world for not being fair. Your dad and I believe you will do meaningful things, some small, maybe some large, with that empathy and outrage. I'm very proud of you, not just as your first Hebrew teacher, but as your mom. You take the lessons you learn here at Temple, at school, as part of athletic teams from your friends and from your family, and you grow. I see you growing from the child who told me how she was going to pronounce oith into a young lady with your own values and own interests, but still a strong sense of empathy and outrage. I hope you continue on this amazing path you have set for yourself. We will watch and cheer you on every step of the way.
Congratulations. Tilly, what a huge accomplishment, and you're not allowed to read my notes. Your mother and I are so proud of you, and we are so proud of how you've been able to adapt to the changes you've had to make in these uncertain times. I'd like to think you got your ability to adapt from me. For example, instead of a speech, my initial plan was to do a 30-minute interpretive dance. My backup dancers, Aaron Veneer, Jeff Hirsch, Brian Max, and Corey Goodman had practiced for weeks, and we were just starting to nail the choreography. But times change, and so I have to stick to giving a boring speech. Tilly, you are amazing. You are kind, funny, hardworking, and competitive, especially in a family game of dodgeball. You are an exceptional role model for your brother and sister, and you are very much into fairness, as your mom said. So much so that our family had to create a grievance committee to hear all complaints related to fairness. The committee, comprised of me and your mom, answer all fairness grievances with the same response: life's not fair. And that's true, life's not fair. But that doesn't mean it's right or that life can't be more fair. I hope that as you continue to grow and learn and succeed in life, you keep your passion for fairness and that you do your part, no matter how big or small, to make the world a more fair and just place to live. Thank you to all the folks that Tilly mentioned who helped make this day possible. There are people supporting you on Zoom from across the country and beyond. From as west as California and Oregon, to as south as Florida, to as north as Canada, and to as east as, well, North Carolina. Congratulations, Tilly, and in the immortal words of Elle Woods, we did it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tilly, it was just about 3 years ago that we sat in my office, and our goal was to pick out a Hebrew name. And yes, this day is about you and your accomplishments, but I just want to take one small step aside to say that your parents set a tremendous example by insisting you were a part of that process. They left it up to you and decided it was something that you needed to truly own and find meaning. And we talked about different options, different ways we could go about picking a name, and ultimately you picked the Hebrew name Sapphira, which is the Hebrew word for the gem sapphire. Now, in your wonderful, snarky sense of humor, you're obviously a gem, and you would say so yourself. But it also is the same root as the word sefer, or book. And what really motivated you to pick that name was your love of books and your love of reading. And as we've already heard, your passion for learning and diving deeply into the knowledge you pursue is tremendous, and it is certainly something that I hope you hold on to and that you continue to lean into, both as you enter the world as a Jewish adult and you continue to figure out what living a Jewish life means for you. I'm tremendously proud of you for the thought that you put into every aspect of this process, and it is my prayer and my blessing that you will continue to approach life in such a thoughtful, dedicated, and yes, competitive way. Mazel tov to you and to your whole family. I want to turn to Carolyn Sloan now, who will present you some gifts from our board of directors.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom to everyone. And Tilly, it is my absolute pleasure and honor to be able to present the gift today. And first, I just wanted to say that as having taught you before and knowing your mom and your siblings, and it's just an honor to know your family as well. You did just a tremendous job today. I'm not even a little bit surprised about that, by the way, having, met you and taught you and seen you in action. And without putting too much pressure on you for your future, I just want to say that, with the world as crazy as it is, and sometimes as challenging as it is, particularly in this moment, you and your skills and your poise and your leadership and your intelligence and your empathy and all that you bring really just kind of gives me so much hope for the future, knowing that you're part of who's gonna guide and shape the future for the rest of us. And as a board member, I want to offer you the gifts that are being given to you today from the religious school. There's a book on the doorposts of our house. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me. And you'll be able to use that as a reference guide throughout your life. It's a really wonderful book. From the sisterhood, you're going to be able to use your Kiddush cup. That's going to be over on the table, I assume. And from the brotherhood, you'll have a mezuzah that you can put on your doorway in your room, or maybe bring to college someday in the future. And there's a certificate from the board that will remind you of what you accomplished today. And I believe that's all. There's probably also a certificate from Nifty, but I'm not really sure about that. I don't usually give that one. And congratulations, Mazel Tov, and I'm very, very proud of you.
Tilly, there's also a very special gift from your class. It is a Torah, and if you look deep inside this Torah, you will see that it is set to the Torah portion that you read for us today, so that you can share it with your brother and sister when it's their turn to stand on this bima, and that you always have the memory of your parsha and that lesson you taught us today. And so as you have brought us blessing, as your portion has not only taught us, but reflected who you are in the way that you live your life, it is my privilege to offer with Zemer Lexi the priestly benediction upon you.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka.
May God's countenance shine upon you and be loving to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
Each and every day, may you walk with the light of God leading you, that you will find life filled with peace, with wholeness, with shalom. Amen and Mazel Tov. And now we turn to page 256 in our prayer books. As we return the Torah to the Ark, I invite your family to come forward and lead us.
עץ חיים חיל למחזיקים בה, ותומרך מאושר. דרכיך דרכי נועם, וכל נתיבותיך שלום. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה, חדש חדש ימינו כקדם.
As we celebrate so much blessing in our lives, especially with the noise on this Shabbat, we also know that we live in a time in which the world is deeply in need of healing. And so we ask God's prayers and blessing to lift all of us up during this time, to lift us from the pain of the pandemic and from the pain of racism that pervades in our world. And we ask God's blessing as well on those who face illness in our community and those that you want to add in the chat as we prepare for prayers of healing. Paul Agris, Sue Brim, Betty Cross, Sharon Davis, Harav Yisrael Gadal Ben Batya, Molly Freed, Dave Griffith, Anita Lederer, Wendy Newby, Candy Paul, Rudy Pariser, Jackie Schlesinger, Laura Stein, Bruce Wayne, Alan Weinberg, Abel Zaltberg, and Yitzhak Shimon. For all of those named, for all of those that we are holding in our heart, for the pain that we are holding for our world, we say, Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, O God, be the healer of body and soul. Amen. And now we turn to the words of Aleinu on page 282 at the bottom of the page through 287.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Page 294 and 295. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. We call to mind the recent passing of longtime temple member Betty Simon, and we mark the yahrzeit, the anniversary of passing of Michael Barker, Edmund Gagnon, Lillian Gross, Rita Jablonski, I. Mac Josephs, Sylvia Parker Kay, Annie M. Keith, Elliot Kopp, Marvin Lazoff, Celia Leaker, Frank London, Mabel Morris, Ludwig Pariser, Diane Pomper, Evelyn Rappaport, Leo Reiner, Moses A. Roxon, Stanley Sauerstrom, Seymour Schoenholtz, Ellen Reinhardt Schott, Jack Schwed, Annie Seligson, Dorothy Frankfeld Seligson, Jesse Shapiro, Rhea Springer, Norman Weiselberg, Stella Weisenfeld, Nathan Weistein, Sydney J. Woolman, and Stella Wood. On this Shabbat, as we celebrate with the Noyes family, we add the names of Robert Noyes, Shirley Donaldson, Alma Noyes, Lawrence and Gladys Harmer, Samuel Trustman, Tilly Locker Trustman, Robert Marie, Joe Bell Marie, Eleanor Hannick Black, Abraham Black, Ira Hannick, and Harry Shearer. Zikronam Livracha, may their memories be for blessing as we join together in the words of the Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra hirutei ve'almichma chutei. V'chayechonu v'yomechonu v'chayei dekol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam omei almaya, Yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudisha v'yechu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushvechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mruma, uyaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, b'imru amen. May there be abundant peace for heaven and life for us and all Israel and all the world. And let us say together, amen. And now as we move to the concluding of our service, I invite to offer our closing song, Zemer Lexi Fromm.
Page 322. En Keloheinu, en Kadoneinu, en Kemalkeinu, en Gemoshienu, Micheloheinu, Micharoneinu, Michemalkeinu, Michemoshienu, Lode Eloheinu, Lode Adoneinu, Lode Lemalkeinu, Lode Lemoshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adoneinu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adoneinu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu. Oh God, as you have blessed us on this Sabbath day, as you have blessed the generations who have come before us and shared in Torah and received Torah as the mantle of their heritage, bless us now as we carry forward. Bless us now as we drink in Shabbat. Amen. And now we complete our service with the Jewish jelly donuts. I invite you to unmute yourselves and to offer blessings for Tilly and her family, for the Motzi and Kiddush.
1, 2, 3.
Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei hagel.
Amen. And Jewish jelly donuts, before we do the motzi, just remember that you're all going to hang out with me for a minute or two after services, so when everyone else leaves, please stay on. Are you ready with your challah?
Yeah.
I see some. 1, 2, 3.
We give thanks to God for bread. Thanks God Our voices rise in song together as a joyful Spirit song. Baratana Eloheinu melech haolam, Hooray, Parihaga.
B'te'avon Shabbat Shalom.